Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. Thank you for joining our call today. Looking forward to what we get to discuss today, and I'm going to just jump right into our private silent meditation without any further ado. Gratitude for myself and others. Gratitude for myself and others. And I've got the timer set for 90 seconds, and we're going to do a private silent meditation on gratitude for myself and others. And just write down whatever comes to you, and then we'll share afterwards and see what comes up. Begin. All right. I really enjoy solitude. Every day when I'm doing my daily GPS, I just love the quiet and just being in a dimly lit room, just all by myself with God and receiving my inspiration. It's probably my favorite time of the day. And this morning, sometimes, my husband and I will be in the bathroom together, while I'm like doing makeup or whatever. He's in there brushing his teeth or whatever. And our bathrooms aren't super huge. And so it's this morning I was getting ready, just putting my makeup on and just kind of spreading out in the bathroom and all by myself. And it just, there was just kind of a sense of peace that was there with me in the bathroom. And so I love being by myself, but I also really, really love having my husband as a companion. And when we're waking up in the morning, I just love cuddling up with him and just, that last little bit of warmth before I get out of bed. And I just love that. And my daughter and I, all of my daughters have different shared hobbies, and we like to get together and share these hobbies and interests. And that's really fun too. It creates memories for us. So I love being by myself. I love myself, gratitude for myself. And I also love that companionship that I have with others and the memories that are created with other people. Robert, you have something to share?
Yes. So what came up for me was how well I have gratitude for myself and for others, and would write down my how I'm feeling towards myself and others. I realized that what I'm making up defines my makeup.
Mm.
So, for example, my thought then went to how I talked to my son about writing, and he said, "I'm just making stuff up."
Mm-hmm.
And I says, "Do you understand that what your attitude is towards making stuff up is why you give excuses to make things up, not to do something. I said, when I write something, I'm making up the core of who I am by expressing my feelings and my thoughts towards myself and others. And by doing so, I am making up that core. I am telling me about my core self.
Wow.
And by you making up excuses and surrendering to makeup, you're making up lies to yourself not to do something.
Wow, super powerful. I think it was yesterday or the day before in my daily GPS, there was a scripture. Let me see if I can, let me just see if I can grab that really quick about lying to yourself. And let's see. Well, I will find it and I'll post it.
I'm impressed that you
in
even
a
have
group.
that so close by.
Yeah, well, I've got my daily GPS planner right here in front of me, but I don't have the full scripture written out. I've just got the reference. So I'll have to look it up and make sure that's the right one. But I will do that. Thank you. Wow, so powerful. I'm not going to add anything to what you said. I think it was just super powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill.
So what came to me is just, and it was the first thing that came to me this morning too, and that was just the companionship of my ego. And I I used to just be so identified with the little thoughts and little conversations that I had inside of my mind, and sometimes I still am, but for the most part, I just watch it because it's so silly sometimes. It's so silly sometimes what my ego will say about certain things or certain opinions about, it's just the silly operating system of my body. But it does also give me companionship, and I'd be lying to say that I don't spend a good chunk of my time talking to myself, and especially when I'm alone, right? And I just talking to myself, every once in a while I go and I'll turn myself off, through meditation or through distraction or something like that. But I just think it's just this wonderful experience, to just always have this roommate inside of me that has an opinion about everything, and it's pretty cool. And it's just not me, and so if I don't
Right.
identify it, then I'm doing a lot better. I'll say that.
That's awesome. And just kind of as you're talking, I'm visualizing this, and it's like you have this traveling companion with you, right? That's with you everywhere. And that's the others part of you. Myself would be like my highest self, my spirit, that part of me that would always choose the right, choose the thing that's going to be in most alignment with God's will, and all of those things. And I have this other person that's always with me, this companion that's always with me, that sometimes wants to go a different direction. It's like, oh, that's so silly. I love that. Thank you. Betsy says, Phil, I love that. Always have a roommate inside of me in the chat. Thank you. Mary.
I know, that's great. I laughed out loud when you said you are grateful for the companionship of your ego. I think that runs our life, actually, some very, very much of the time. So it's nice to have that company. I'm grateful for myself and for my uniqueness, and others get to have their uniqueness. When I was growing up, I wasn't accepted for who I was, even at home. And at least that's how it occurred for me. And I would copy others. Well, I guess if this isn't good, or if I'm not good, or if I don't know what I'm talking about, then I'll copy others. So really, for most of my life, I've just copied. It's like I've copied how to be, and what, and that was a revelation when I finally saw that that's what I was doing. but it helped. I mean, it helped me exist. It helped me to be. So others were
Mhm.
very important in my life because I learned, I guess that's all we all learn. Babies learn by copying others.
Mhm.
I'm just really grateful that I have myself and others, and that we really work off of each other and strengthen each other, and I that we have our own kind of beautiful, and we just get to allow each other to be our own kind of beautiful. I just love myself and others. I mean, I love being by myself as well. And I love being around others. So there's some song, I think it's a relationship song, but we just can't do without each other. So
Mhm.
that's really,
Yeah, absolutely true. Several things that came to mind as you were talking. That it is definitely a survival technique to copy others, to be a people pleaser, to maybe if I be this way, then people will like me, or I'll be safe. And you mentioned that it was something that helped you to exist in that environment. That's something that well, there's a couple things. When I do a purpose call with someone, we go back to those times and we actually help you remember who you were before you made those changes where you felt like you had to change yourself to be able to exist. And it is a survival technique. And as a child, it's really important to be able to survive within your environment, especially if it is a hostile environment, which some children do grow up in that. And all of us, I believe, like you said, babies copy. I think all of us do a lot of copying when we're kids, and we make decisions about ourselves based on experiences that we have. And if sister is getting, a lot of accolades because she's, really good at playing the piano, we may not have any interest in playing the piano, but all of a sudden we want to play the piano, and we don't realize it's because we need, that support and love, feeling of love. And so we become something that we're not. That's really important to realize as children, and that also as we become adults, that we can step into our own. And I've seen you do that a lot over the last few years as we've been together, Mary. Thank you.
thank you.
Betsy, you had something.
Yeah, so this is really a beautiful topic for the now of my life. So what I really came to was that every myself and others, there's a role for everyone, and I started thinking about honoring my boundaries and honor others, and then I realized that all stages of humanity and all stages of spirituality are developed, alone or with others. And really, alone is when, personally, I feel my spirit can really soar and explore and learn. And it is like I appreciate also your private time. And I mean, I just love sitting in front of the Christmas tree, and I love my alone time and my time with God. And I mean, I guess I'm never really alone, right? With my roommate, right, Phil?
Mm-hmm.
But alone is when my spirit really can soar. And then together, when I'm with others, it's like my human side can learn. I can grow my compassion. I can grow my understanding. I can watch interactions with others. And it's not to say my spirit can't grow there as well, but I think that there are more learned human beautiful attributes that can soar when I'm with other people, because I love being that social butterfly, and I love people, and I drink that in, but I drink in my aloneness as well. And it's so interesting, the connection between the spiritual and the humanity, and what a beautiful blend. There's a role for all of it, and just to be.
Beautiful. That idea of humanity, immediately I thought you have to be with others to be able to practice humanity. But then immediately I thought about your internal roommate, right? And loving yourself. That's having charity for yourself, being kind to yourself. you can have humanity even just within your own self. But that's, I know all of us were meant to have an experience together. I love that idea of kind of going into yourself and allowing your spirit to soar and explore, and kind of a safe place to practice humanity for yourself. And then once you love yourself, I know Robert has said this a lot, that when you love yourself, then you're able to love other people. And so you can begin practicing that humanity on other people as well. Love that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Wileen. True. And I also wrote down, that we are all brothers and sisters. And yeah, part of that is really honoring ourselves. And yeah, I love that. Thank you.
I love that too. Just realizing we all are all brothers and sisters. When we think about maybe people in the world that we don't necessarily agree with or whatever, but there's still that connection. There's still that family connection in God's, big family, the one family. There's still that connection of family, with no matter how much we disagree with somebody that's, making choices that aren't in alignment with what we would do. There's still a family connection there. I love that. Thank you. There's still an opportunity for humanity and charity.
Can I just say something right here that's coming to my mind? And that is, that all resistance causes separation.
Yes.
Even resistance with our own ego. When we resist it, then we separate. And we're not supposed to be separate right now. We're supposed to be in form and learn how to deal with this operating system that we have. And so when we resist it, that's when we get down on ourselves. That's when we start believing that that we are the thoughts of the ego. That's when we resist it. But when we love it, even though it's silly sometimes, then we can end that resistance, and that brings us joy in our lives.
Awesome. Yeah, just really embracing that. I love what Mary said. I love being my own kind of beautiful. And I know Betsy, one of her favorite phrases is, I love my true colors. And whatever those colors are, and whatever that kind of beautiful looks like, all of it together. Thank you. Tyree.
So you were talking about how we copy and do different things when we're trying to, when we don't really have a safe place. And I think we do that anyway. But I was just thinking about, hopefully I can bring my thoughts together. Even in okay, so you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, and those children didn't have a safe place. And so they, everyone had to take out, God had to wipe all of that out to start over. And I look at, okay, so I had a young woman leader in church, and she had an abusive mother, but she was the kindest, most Christ-like woman I've ever met. She's just amazing, an amazing mother. And you could see, because through her children, the amazing mother that she was. Some people are so good about healing from that. And I know that it's through Christ, but then I think, what if I'm not making a safe enough place for my children? Because I get so, yesterday, my daughter was talking to me, and I just duh, and I was just stop. And she started crying, and I felt so bad. I guess, what do it's all the atonement, but some people access it so much more effectively than others. And I don't even know how to explain this, but how do we access that atonement so that we can raise and lift humanity rather than pull it down?
Beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that, Tyree, and I'm sure that all of us at some point have felt that exact same feeling, that you were just sharing about just slipping out of that highest and best self, the living according to the Spirit, like we would always love to do, but sometimes we do slip out of that. And I think part of the answer that came to me anyway, and if anybody else has something that they would like to share about how to access that atonement on a daily basis, is what you were talking about with Sodom and Gomorrah, and even during Noah's time when the Lord cleansed the earth with the flood, that and other times when civilizations have been completely wiped out and just to start over, that there was, like what you mentioned, there wasn't a chance for the children. There wasn't a safe place. And it wasn't just within the family, because even now we have family situations where there's abuse or addiction or, whatever, all kinds of crazy things that happen within families. But there are wonderful teachers, like you mentioned, that can be sort of a mother figure. There are wonderful opportunities all around us where there are good people. It's, we're not in a situation where the children don't have a chance. There is a chance, and Christ's Spirit is here. When we do this gratitude call, it sends out good vibes everywhere. So that was the thought that I had. Betsy, did you have something you'd like to share?
Yeah, Tyree, you're such a beautiful soul. And when you were talking, and I mean, my heart was is right there with you. And I remember as a young mother that someone super wise said to me, I mean, again, we have such beautiful tribe members around us, is I just said, oh, I think I'm doing it wrong, or I'm going to ruin them, or, oh my gosh. And they said something really wise. And they said, we're going to make mistakes as parents, and these little children grow up regardless. And they looked at me and they said, do you remember any mistakes that were made when you were 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old? And I looked at them and I was like, oh, okay. It was suddenly okay to be human, and that this little soul in front of me would be resilient and they would learn whatever they're supposed to learn, even from my iniquities. And so I wrote something that I need to say to myself sometimes too, is allow yourself grace. And it beautifully aligns with the love and the atonement of the Savior. Is sometimes we have to just grant ourselves that, which really does come from God as well.
Beautiful. I love that. And, that gift of the atonement that you so beautifully brought into this conversation, Tyree, we all have that. And the wonderful resilience that children have, they have that light of Christ within them as well. And children especially have so much charity. It's like, we make a mistake and then they come back the next minute and give us a great big hug. And they're so awesome that way. And we also have the access to the atonement. It's not meant for us to be perfect. That's the thought that came to me as you were talking, Betsy, that we're not meant to be perfect. We are meant to mess up. We have to rely on Christ to be able to be perfect. So thank you. We've got Kathy, Laura, Deep Tea, and Mary. I've got you all written down, so we'll go in that order. Kathy?
Awesome. I feel like I just need to be so brief. I'm trying to suppress a cough. I haven't been on because I've been under the weather, but I just felt so impressed to share a bit of an audio I was listening to last night, and they were talking about a book called Personality Plus. And it's all about relationships and how we treat ourselves, how we treat others, but figuring out what your own personality style is and figuring out the personality styles of others, not to excuse, because sometimes you can say, oh, I'm just this way, but to really notice and recognize personality traits, and so that we can work on our own personalities and excuse personality traits in others. But the other thing that was really coming up for me a lot was the greatness I see in you, and just really that message that we each have for one another, to build each other up and to see each other as Christ sees, and just with an eye single to the glory of God. And if we try to see one another in that light, we may have a message of hope and comfort and encouragement for others around us. Anything that we can do to build each other up also builds the kingdom. And especially with children, they are so resilient, and they are going to love you no matter what. But in creating those beautiful memories, you always hope that they'll remember the good thing more than the
Yeah.
oh yeah, I snapped. And when I was raising my children, there were many times when I was like, I hope you're on your best behavior today, because I'm not in a very good mood. I'm not at my best physically, but I'm just telling you right now that if I snap at you, forgive me, it's not you, because I just never wanted for them to feel like I was tearing them down. And I hope that helped. I don't know if they remember that, but
Yeah.
I just would always take it on myself to make sure that they knew that if I was on edge, it was me. And I really appreciated them in their efforts to be on their best behavior, or to do things that would help me feel better. And it wasn't often, I hope, but the main thing is hoping that they have good memories. And even if it's just a one-time thing, I remember my daughter was like, remember when the Schwann truck came and we would always get those pop-ups or push-ups or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I remember that happened once.
That was the one they remembered. That's cool.
That's what she remembered. She thought that was so special, and that was so.
That's cool.
So hopefully our children will remember more of the good things. And
Yeah.
the one thing that I often wish that I would have done more of is to help my children remember that they loved each other, rather than trying to solve their fights and problems for them, but to help them work things out, and remind them to hug it out or things like that. But just
love that.
reminding them how much we're a family, and no matter what, we always love each other.
Yeah, great. A couple thoughts that came to me as you were talking is catch them doing something good. A lot of times we're, always on the lookout to catch them doing something that's irritating or frustrating or, whatever. But to catch them doing something good and really express that gratitude for, like you said, being on your best behavior or whatever. And also, Christ did introduce this idea of forgiveness. And even if you don't tell them ahead of time, I'm not on my best behavior today, that we can ask for forgiveness. And children are super, super forgiving, even older. I remember going to my daughter when she was 23 years old and apologizing for something that I thought was her fault, but it was actually my fault when I became more conscious of, the way things really are, the truth, and align myself with truth. And she received me, and now we're great friends, and we struggled before that. So even when they're older, they're super willing to do that when we go to them. And that idea of deliberately seeing the good in people in general, not just our children, but people in general. I love that. Okay, we've got Laura, Deep Tea, and then Mary.
So I love all of your comments about patience with ourselves as parents, and the resilience of children. I concur 100 bazillion%. And there's another piece that I wanted to share with Tyree, just to, if she feels like, Tyree, if you feel like you're like, at times, I mean, I could get that way because I'm introverted, and to have somebody just nattering at me is like, but we still have to overcome that part of ourselves, right? And as much as we can, to be the fullest expression of who we are. so that we can be the best parent for them. And I totally get it. We don't want our kids to grow up with, problems snapping at people, right?
Mhm.
And unfortunately, and I'm just going on the dark side here a little bit. I did have a lot of anxiety when my son was growing up, and he does have a tendency to snap at people. Okay, he did absorb that behavior, and he's working on it. But that happens. Okay, even when you love each other and we have a great relationship, and even when you do the best you can, sometimes I've told him, I said, I'm sorry, for
Mhm.
the things that I wasn't able to give you, I said, but it's up to you now, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm out, I mean, I'm here to support, but like, I did the best I could. And I had a lot of obstacles, to, I mean, the job I did as a parent, was like, compared to what I went through, it was like unbelievable, great, but yeah. So here's a technique that I wish I had known then, okay, to see if I could mitigate some of that. And that is when I have that, it's almost like a fire of irritation, right? Rising up from the very depth, like right from the base of my being. Whether or not, even today, whether or not I'm able to like deal with it in that moment, later, even if it's not right then, right? Later, I just sit with it. Like, you just get quiet and you bring up that feeling, okay? And you don't say yes or no to it. You just don't resist it. And then in that, you breathe through it, right? And focus your attention on where that's coming from, right?
Mhm.
And then pray. And then invite the Holy Spirit into the situation to heal it. And it's not a one and done always. Sometimes it is, but to do that and to continue doing that, and then just practicing that non-resistance with whatever it is within you that's not healed right there. So anyway, I don't know, maybe I hope that helps.
Thank you. I think it does. And it kind of goes back to, I think it was Betsy that was talking about practicing by yourself, because then if that situation happens, if that fire, whatever, comes up within you in the middle of church or something, when your kids are acting out or whatever, then you've already experienced the non-resistance of that when you were by yourself and you were able to invite the Holy Spirit in, say a prayer, and to allow that feeling to be healed. And so that practice, I think, would make it easier when you're in the moment and it's not so, it might be just as strong, but you have experience in inviting that in. I love that idea of just practicing.
Oh, well, yeah. And you actually will heal whatever it is within your
totally.
body system, Now, the other side of it is if you're introverted and you're surrounded by people all day and they're constantly talking at you, you're going to feel irritable, I mean, this is reality, right? But at the same time, as a parent, if you're surrounded by people and this is your situation, right, you've got to die to self and rise to it as much as you can. And practicing all the grace that everybody talked about and realizing that kids are resilient and they are getting the tools that they need and God can do anything with anything.
That's right.
So realizing all of that, right? So it's a mixed bag. I'm not trying to go full boat into fix yourself, right? But I just want to introduce a little bit of that.
Yeah, exactly. I actually had that same thought that Christ went to the mountain often. He would speak, to 10,000 people and have them all around him. And then he'd say, okay, guys, I'm going to the mountain.
And you know what? You could even do like with the kids, you could do like a 90-second break. Okay, guys, I need 90 seconds. And to honor that within yourself. All right, honey, I want to hear what you have to say, but I need 2 minutes of quiet just right now. This is just something I need, and I'll be right back and you can finish your story. I mean, it's all kinds of ideas, just brainstorming.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, we'll go Deep T and then Mary, and then we'll shift into a quick permission process.
So for me, gratitude for others comes easy than gratitude for myself,
Mm.
because I think it's a little hard for me to recognize my own gifts or my own worthiness up until now. But so now every time, and I think grateful for myself doesn't come from, mostly comes from not self-criticism about your own self in any manner or form. So I've just learned this now, that every time something does come up, like something like, okay, probably I've been thin, or for whatever situations led me to think from people or experiences. So every time I come up with a self-criticism that says, oh, I am too thin, I just completely switch that to, okay, when I say, okay, I'm too thin, and, I look a little this because I'm extremely thin, then, if I say I am beautiful, it's not going to work with that I am statement, because all this time I've been reinforcing that same belief from wherever I got it from. So I just make it a little simpler for my brain to understand that, okay, it's been working in a particular way, but there's a new way now. And I just now use that from now on, I choose to focus on the fact that, oh, I eat so much, and I still don't put on weight, and others are really struggling at the gym to get that perfect figure. So I actually switch that now, or something like, okay, if someone is doing really successfully well as per your age, so I just tell myself that from now on, I choose to focus on the fact that I'm at least 1% better than from what I was yesterday. And the only person I need to compare myself with is not someone else, but who I was before.
That's
One thing I wanted
awesome.
to tell, and one thing I wanted to help Tidy with is, I know parenting is going to like make you pull your hair, and it's not going to be like one time, and there will be a lot of many more incidents that come up. And there's one little short video I saw somewhere wherein, of course, it comes back to EFT and tapping points. For Tidy, if there is some situation where you are like really annoyed with your child for whatever reason, what you should do is tap all the 8 tapping points, the list which I've already posted on the group, but I can repost if you want. So what you do is you tap on all those points and actually remove all your frustration. You can say anything like, oh, my child is such a pain, I hate being a mother, and oh, I get so tired, or whatever. Keep tapping on each of those points and keep saying whatever you're feeling at that point in time. And when all that gunk is out, you don't really need to feel guilty later that how you how you snapped at your child. What you can do is, when you get all that gunk out of whatever you felt at that point in time for the child or for you being a bad mother, then all that bullshit is out of your system, and then you have been centered because the frustration is out of you. So you say whatever, you can like even abuse your child or say whatever you feel at that point in time. And then when all that gunk is out, you recenter yourself and then say statements like, I'm the best mother, I am really upbringing my child in such a manner that when he grows up, he's going to be such an example of Christ. And, you recenter with, how good a mother you are, and use as many statements as you can. And my child is like so successful, and everybody, all other mothers tell me that I brought them up so well, and my mannerisms of my child are so nice. Replace all of them. When the frustration is out, recenter and put all the good statements in, and that's when you anchor in those new beliefs.
Awesome. Thank you. I think it kind of goes back to what Laura was saying also about not resisting. Allow those feelings to be. I think, that's why they keep coming, is because we resist them so much. We haven't learned, how to just love and feel grateful for all things. And then we can choose to let those go once it's like, yep, thank you for sharing. All right, I want to choose something else now, just like we do in our permission process with limiting beliefs and then
Yes.
choosing new beliefs. Thank you. Mary.
Okay, so we're kind of out of time. Do you want me to share?
I do.
Okay. I just when I think Tyree was talking or somebody was talking, it came up when I was an extra in a movie, and it was The Lamb of God. I think that's what it was called. And I was in a crowd of people who had to yell, crucify him, crucify him. And I instinctively, while we were doing it, I just stopped. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're filming, they're rolling. I have to keep doing this. But I realized in that moment that I instinctively knew it was not right. My yelling was not right. That yelling, especially what I was yelling, was not right. But since it was my role, I had to go along with it and I had to start, doing it. But it made me think while we were talking that we instinctively know what's, you talked about the light of Christ. It's like we know what is right, and when we're yelling, that it's not right. I don't know why I wanted to share this, but it just made me realize that we can get caught up. We can get caught up in what others are doing, or what's even with ourselves, even with our ego, get caught up with that. And but when we realize it in that moment, that's when to stop.
Yes, I'm really grateful that you shared that. And, even the fact that Tyree was feeling that pain and regret and remorse, and we've all felt that. Even having the feeling of pain and regret, it says that, Tyree is a very good mother. The fact that she recognized this isn't how I want to be. I love that. I'm super grateful that you shared that. We instinctively know what's right. And when we're out of alignment, when we're out of balance with that, our spirit feels pain. We feel that pain of regret and guilt or whatever it is. And those feelings are good also. We shouldn't even resist those feelings, because they are giving us, not telling us that we're a bad person. They're really telling us that we're a good person and we're going against who we naturally are.
I might add, as a mom, I remember being in that moment where I was like, frustrated. And then I'm like, wow, this isn't right. But I'm still going to do it.
Yes. And that's when it's good to go practice by yourself. I love that. Oh, thank you so much, everyone that has shared. We will just walk through a short permission process and then we'll go ahead and end our call. Thank you so much for everything that has been shared. I know that this has been super uplifting. It's been super instructive and healing for a lot of us here on this call. And I'm sure those who are listening to the podcast, you can relate as well. So thank you, everybody that has shared. Go ahead and take a deep breath. And just allow yourself to go into this space of love for yourself and whatever judgment that you might have had for yourself, self-criticism, like Deepti was mentioning, in any manner or form of yourself. Just allow yourself to feel those thoughts, that criticism. Just be in a space right now where you can, without resistance, allow yourself to feel and even say to yourself that self-criticism, and maybe write some of those words down, because these are definitely limiting beliefs that you get to work through. And just continue writing. Just allow those words to flow from your hand. We're going to be ending the call very soon, and this will give you an opportunity to continue your practice after the call and to work through these limiting beliefs. And then also shifting to others and being open to know, how have I criticized others? How have I seen in others something less than charity? And maybe there's a particular person that comes to mind. Maybe that's politicians, maybe it's the world in general, maybe it's certain groups of people, whatever it is. Just allow yourself to be shown those ways that you have criticized others, and what limiting beliefs are coming up to you about that have kept you in fear and criticism of others. And just for the recording, we'll go ahead and walk through a permission process. However, just know that after this call's over, you can continue writing those things down and continue doing your permission process on each one of those limiting beliefs, each one of those statements of self-criticism or criticism of others. Take one more deep breath and just look at those words that you've written down. And are these going to serve you? What is the outcome if you hold on to these words that you've written down, these criticisms? What must the universe bring to you? If the things that you focus on are attracted to you, what must the universe bring to you? And if you don't like that, you can give yourself permission to choose something else. And if you're ready to choose something else, say yes.
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 Awesome. And so what are some new beliefs? If you have these criticisms of yourself and others, these are limiting beliefs about yourself and about others. And what new beliefs would take the place of that and would allow you to see them a completely different light through the eyes of Christ with charity? See them in their greatness. What new beliefs serve you? And again, continuing to write those new beliefs to take the place of all of those criticisms and limiting beliefs that you have written down. And then as you're stepping into this place of healing, place of forgiveness, place of wholeness, a place of coming together as one family under God, one with God, seeing yourself and others through the eyes of Christ. What is the one most important thing that you could do today? What is your inspired shortcut to step fully into charity, to step out of criticism and to step into charity for yourself and others? What is the one most important thing? And just listen for intuition to guide you, to tell you. It might be something super small, and that's okay. One inspired shortcut to step fully into charity for yourself and others. And I do encourage you to, if you feel like you need to continue this process after the call, to give yourself the time to do that. I also would like to offer myself as a support in this as you're working through these self-criticisms. If there's anything that I can help you with, I would love to have some time with you, 15 minutes. And all you have to do is go to askwylene.com and you can schedule a 15-minute call with me, a 15-minute private mentoring session. Thank you all for being on our call today. We'll look forward to being back together tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I just really appreciate everything that has been shared and the beauty of this call today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. And I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. I'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, wylenebenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.